Hi, and welcome to E's Bookshelf. This is a podcast about my bookshelf, which includes historical fiction, realistic fiction, science fiction, fantasy, and mystery books. I'm your host, Alicia Driver. So in today's episode, I'll be discussing the book A Different Dawn by Isabella Maldonado. I think this book is important because this one goes into detail about what it's like growing up in the foster care system and in juvenile detention, and how not everyone is what they seem like on the outside. This is the second book in the series. So it starts off with Nina in the foster care system, and she hears the story of the Latin folktale La Llorona, which will play a big part in the next crime she will solve. And Nina is an FBI agent, and while investigating a case, she notices that the exact same crime occurs every 4 years on Leap Day. A young family consisting of a mother, a father, and a newborn baby girl are killed in the middle of the night. We learn that the killer has no motive other than to mentally torment the mother. No robbery, no vandalism, no sexual assault, nothing. And there's been a total of 8 cases of the same crime, all on Leap Day. Almost all of them were in a big city, and they begin to investigate this real estate agent. Each couple that was killed had recently moved into a new home before having a baby. And they find a man by the name of Thomas Kirk, who has had a very troubled past as a minor and was also involved in every home sold to the young couples. Later, Kirk is killed, and we learn that he knows something about the real killer, that the real killer didn't want him to know about. And the real killer murdered Kirk before the FBI had a chance to ask him any questions. So, while examining each case, Nina tries to find out why the killer only chooses families with newborn baby girls. If you don't like spoilers, stop right now. Okay, so, anyways, during her investigation, she begins to put the pieces together and finds her real parents. If you haven't read the first book, Nina, she grew up in the foster care system, and there's very little information as to who her parents are, and she became an emancipated teenager when she was 16, and then she became a cop, and then she worked her way up, and now she's an FBI agent. And she was also the first Latina to hold the rank of captain in the Fairfax County Police Department right outside of Washington, D.C. And so, anyways, one of the couple who was killed is actually Nina's parents. So we find out that 2 Latino babies were switched at the hospital, and one couple took home a baby that was not theirs, and later they were all murdered in their sleep. Those were Nina's biological parents. And another woman who was at the hospital gave birth and took the wrong child when she left. That was Nina. This mother had a very troublesome life and decided to leave her baby in a trash can. Yeah. And if Nina's parents had taken home the right baby, then Nina would have died. So, Nina goes to the family and goes the couple's family and tells them that the couple's baby was not actually their biological baby. But the family doesn't know that Nina is the biological baby. So we learn the killer started killing baby girls when he was a child. He had killed his baby sister the day after she was born. He felt as though he should have been enough for his parents. That led him to the life of juvie. And although once he reached the age of maturity, he had turned his life around, the killer. On the surface, he seemed like a successful, stereotypical American, and underneath all that, he was full of anger, and he took out his anger through murder. They look deeper into the killer's life, and they look at his past love life, which furthers their suspicions even more. The killer never allowed his wife in his basement, and he would always be out of town on his real birthday. he was obsessed with things being exactly perfect, and we also learn that after he killed his baby sister at the age of 12, while he was in juvie for 4 years, his mother killed his father on his birthday, on the killer's birthday, and then his mother turns the gun on herself. Nina and her partner continue the investigation, and little do they know the killer is watching their every move with drones. This is not his first time, so he is no amateur. He threatens to hurt Nina's cousin, who in fact is pregnant with a baby girl, and Nina gives herself over to him in return that he releases her cousin. Nina realizes that she's been living her entire life on borrowed time. And the killer doesn't realize that Nina's partner had been following her the entire time. So Nina's on her knees with a gun pointed at her, waiting for her fate. Then out of nowhere, her partner shoots the killer. And paramedics arrive and they take Nina's cousin to the hospital, and she gives birth in the ambulance. The book ends with Nina reconnecting with her biological family. In fact, her cousin names her newborn baby daughter after Nina. Well, after Nina's birth name. Nina's the name that she grew up with, not her birth name. I can't really say that I relate a lot to this book because I've never been in juvie and I've never been in the foster care system, but I can't imagine the type of identity crisis this must have placed on her. Like, knowing all this time that someone else took her place and died, all these years that she had been living on time that should have belonged to someone else. And this killer targeted her biological family. But at the same time, like, at least she knows that her other blood family, and now she can begin a connection, and maybe they can even give her some answers about her birth parents. And if you listen to my other podcast about the first book in this series, you would already know that I had researched this author, and her blog doesn't say much about her childhood, so I'm not sure if she incorporated herself into Nina's childhood. They are making a film for the first book, and I'm not sure as to if it'll be made into a TV show or a movie. I think I like this book more than the first one because this one had a little more drama. The first book didn't have as much of an, oh, it all makes sense now type of moment like this one did. And I did enjoy learning about Nina's history. Like, the first book, the killer targeted teenage girls, whereas this one targeted babies. So it's definitely far more dark. And when I watch, like, sad movies, I usually get more sad seeing the parents' reaction to losing their child as compared to simply the child dying. Because the way I see it is that the child isn't in pain anymore once they have passed, but the parents will have to hold on to that pain for years. So I think that it brought more emotion reading the second one, like seeing Nina's cousin about to lose her child compared to the child simply passing, or seeing Nina give up herself for her cousin and her cousin's baby definitely warmed my heart. I mean, I would have done the same thing, but it was still nice to read. This book isn't really a type of a calm, let me drink tea and read kind of book. It's definitely something intense. And I wouldn't recommend this book to anyone who is sensitive to these types of topics, but those who watch crime shows and crime dramas, I would definitely recommend this book to. Or anyone who likes to read about drama or even Latin folklore. I also love the representation that this book has, because recently in my communications class we learned about how the Latino population makes up around 40% of LA County in California, yet they are still extremely underrepresented in 2022. So there is a third book after this for Nina's story. There's a third book, and I haven't bought it yet. I still have many unread books on my shelf, but the third one is definitely on my list to read. If you want to ask me any questions about a future podcast or any book recommendations, you can email me at aliciadriver@gmail.com, and that's ELLYSIADRIVER at gmail.com, or you can follow me on Instagram, which is Alicia Driver, and also check out Beyond the Book with Julie for author interviews on YouTube, and follow her on Instagram, which is The Julie Chan Show, because she was the one who recommended this book to me, and this book is the first one in the series. So next time I'll be back with Perfectly Famous by Emily Liebert, which is about an author who is in hiding for unknown reasons and a journalist who is determined to find this author and tell her story. So until next time, bye.